think you're so smart and know good television? Then why don't you just make a show about yourself? See how well that does.
A talking orange? No one would watch a show about that.
Back in my days, somewhere around the late 2000s, I was a big fan of VeggieTales. For those for people who don't know, VeggieTales is a Christian cartoon that tells to praise God and tells some other lessons in mortals. And around that time where I fell in love with VeggieTales, I want to see some VeggieTales content on YouTube. Well, but keep in mind, that was back in the days where YouTube was new. And it was a new thing, and instead of what we had right now, this was more like I want to see VeggieTale content on my computer, but since I don't usually have all the DVDs, this is best I can go with. So back then, I used to watch some VeggieTale parodies. One of the very few first parodies I ever watched about VeggieTales was, well, VeggieTables. And let me tell you this was really weird back then, and to this day it still is. And it's one of those few VeggieTale parodies that had a very dark ending. Yet an animator named Epic Carrot Animator actually decided, hey, let's continue the series. And the series has been continued. Look, I was a huge VeggieTale fan back then, so this is the best I can get to offer. Alongside with that, there is VeggieTale bloopers, which are pretty much outtakes, and it's supposed to be a fun little parody that, like the last one, have a really dark ending. There's the Relatables that, even though I never watched as a kid, I actually later find out that this is actually a remake of original Saturday Night Live sketch by Saturday Night Live Funhouse. I never watched this as a kid, but as an adult, I can say I really did miss out. And like the other three, that has also have a dark ending. And this ugly piece of garbage. There are some other VeggieTales spoofs or parodies that I also watched as a kid. Like, there's Fruity Tales where it's just basically VeggieTales but less Christian, more hey, eat a banana because it's actually good for you. Actually good for you. And let me tell you, this is the only episode of the show that you could ever find. It's a standalone video, one-hit wonder. There's Corn Dog by F&D Films, where even though it's heavily censored, is pretty adult. Like, seriously, pretty adult.
What? What did these b****s say?
Stop talking, I'm gonna mess you up, Mike! Shut the f*** up!
There's Fruit Tales, which is basically homemade quality, that is just pretty, And of course, we cannot forget about the Annoying Orange, because back in the day, this video became a phenomenon back in the old days. And to this day, I still watch his content now and then. There's some times where it still's good, other times it's just there. I mean, he's influential just there. And like the other videos, except for Fruit Tales, they all have a dark ending. And those are Eaten Alive, Garbage Disposal, and Got Chopped. But while I was scrolling down, finding more food content, more and more food content, and then all of a sudden, I've encountered this show. What is it called? Well, it's called
Produce Island.
For the people who don't know what the show is, well, you know The Simpsons, Family Guy, and any other family sitcom that stars a bunch of family, and they're mostly aimed for adults? Well, imagine that, but with fruits. This show it was only available on the internet and was mostly become overshadowed by all the other stuff that I mentioned. So, who made this show? Well, it was made by Protocyle was created and made by Red Letter Media. You know, the guys who are famous for making movie reviews and the famous quote,
Endless trash!
Yep, these guys. And before they became known for their reviewing endless trash, listen, I never watched their YouTube channel, so I'm pretty much new to their YouTube channel. They were a simple company making short films using foods. One of their short films that used was food was Oranges vs. Peeps. And soon, it would become a basis point for their feature film. See that dried up orange with a mustache and some glasses? That would be the main character of one of their first independent films. And that film is called Oranges, Revenge of the Eggplant. It's about an orange named Professor Sunkiss, where after he got back from war, he was doing a little Sonic experience. Well, actually, he's actually a teacher. Look, this is really unscripted. So what this is Professor Sunkiss, and he works as a teacher, and he's really smart, and he's all old. But suddenly, an eggplant called, well, I'm gonna call him Dr. Eggplant, recently escaped prison and now want to take his revenge on Professor Sunkiss. You see, back in the old days, somewhere around the 1930s, if I'm correct, around the Great Depression, the eggplant was ready to become revolutionary, about to change the world with his new automobile. But suddenly, thanks to Professor Sunkiss' all ditziness, and then went all crazy and ditzy at one point, he sabotaged Dr. Eggplant's projects, and now has become arrested for it. Yeah, it was thanks to his ditziness. Dr. Eggplant got himself arrested and will be sentenced to death. But, as you may know, he escaped. Now that the Eggplant has came to their school to wreak havoc and put in revenge of the oranges, it's up to Professor Sunkiss to stop the Eggplant before things goes messy. This is actually one of their very first films using fruits as a main character, and I'm surprised that Red Letter Media actually made this film a really good film. Is it underrated? Absolutely. But is it good? I'd say yes. I really did like this story. The characters are, well, how I say, likable, and there's some stuff about there that I like. But let's talk about the animation here. Or that is, how they use the visuals. They use puppets. Unlike other media where they use foam or use puppets like the Muppets, where it's basically all puppet form, or Team America World Police, they use marionettes. Here they use actual foods and paint faces on them. You want them to have a different expression? You take one frame like this one right here, and here comes another expression. This is one expression of Eric. His name is Eric, by the way. And then this is another expression right here. It does copy the same formula as, well, Yo Gabba Gabba, where even though the characters' mouths aren't moving or making any expressions, you can tell how they're feeling just by the voice actors and the characters' performance. Here, even though they the foods lack limbs, you can tell how they feel because they're more expressive than the characters from Yo Gabba Gabba. And like Yo Gabba Gabba, the actors that plays them are very good. So what does this have to do with Protocyle? Well, since it's made by Red Letter Media, what they learn from Revenge of the Eggplant applied it for Protocyle. Plus, I'd also like to mention that they tend to reuse assets from Orange's Revenge of the Eggplant and applied it for Protocyle. Again, this is Orange's Revenge of the Eggplant, and this is Protocyle. They tend to reuse some assets for this show. Anyways, back to the main topic. One of the very first episodes of Protocyle is Chuck the Dummy. Yeah, I'm going to be mentioning 3 videos along with 1 bonus video, and that'll be it. And I also forgot to mention that there'll be more references of Revenge of the Eggplant will be shown to Protocyle since they're made by the same company. So there will be some Easter eggs in there, so keep an eye out when they show up. Anyways, the first episode we're gonna start was Chuck the Dummy. It stars the main character of the show stars Chuck the Orange. This Chuck right here. He's a father. He's a father of 2 children and very neurotic and have a very interesting voice.
I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna get a toupee and contact lenses.
His wife, Janet, is very sassy and well, as Chuck best describe it, Janet used, well,
Your Apple American sass.
Janet wants Chuck to drive her to somewhere, like a store or something, and Chuck will ask, how would I get home? But Chuck didn't, how would I get home? Janet replies, you can just walk. So Chuck says, I can't do that, I'm doing my ice sculpture. So Janet accepted that Chuck won't do it. So what does she do next? Well, later on that night, while Chuck is getting some cake, he encountered...
There's an intruder! There's an intruder in the house! Take what you want. There's a TV, a stereo, and there are 2 women upstairs. I also have a teenage son, if you're into that sort of thing.
Janet explains that the reason why he got a dummy of Chuck because so that way the dummy would actually protect her in case of danger. Chuck replied,
Janet, that would be very dangerous having a dummy drive your car.
And because of Janet being all arrogant like a snooty village from Animal Crossing, Chuck doesn't like the dummy, and he want to make sure that Chuck gets Janet back from her. And who does he call to? His teenage daughter, Tara. Tara is a teenage daughter that does all typical stuff as a teenager. And let me tell you something. There's something attractive about her, but I don't know which is. Anyways, Tara would like to give his father some advice about what does he do. What does he do in a situation like this? Well, Tara gives you, well, just be handsome. Just be handsome. And don't be like you, be handsome. Chuck followed that advice. Sorry about that. Chuck followed that advice and decided to fight the dummy. And yeah, when Tara is discussing, Chuck really visualized some stuff about Tara. And this show is aimed for an older audience, being adults. Sorry, back to the main subject. The Chuck and the dummy fight it out to see which one who was better. While Janet is in the bathroom, he was thinking that Chuck is cooking him something. It was a 1-to-1 match, but unfortunately, it was a dummy that beaten Chuck. And something tells me that Chuck is like the Charlie Brown of this series, which, in my opinion, works. And the way how this episode ends, it ends with this.
Oh, Janet, I'm such a dummy.
For the first episode of this show, it really does introduce the characters. Introduce, hey, there's Chuck, there's Chuck, there's Janet, there's Tara, and I forgot to mention there's Zach, but I'll mention him in a later video. Well, we'll mention him later on. And we have introduced the dummy. And speaking of that dummy, this is clearly Chuck the dummy. He's a dummy. Next episode. This episode starts with Tara and Zach watching TV. Zach, right here, is basically like Tara, a teenage lime. However, he's the type of dude that likes rock and roll, like rocks and roll, and have some sort of British accent. I don't know. I don't know. You can tell me. So they were watching TV, and what they're watching is they're watching a clip from Revenge of the Eggplant. I can tell because I've seen that film. This is at a scene where Professor Sunkiss was at war and trying to stop a bomb or something. And actually, at the end, changes the banana people at banana stand. Well, this at the end of the scene, but it wasn't the end of the film. Janet, who is on the phone, says, "Can you please lower that, or better yet, change the channel?" They did, and they go on to, if you don't know what's going on here, you should don't, because at the end of this video, I will explain this if the channel should be on. It should be on a TV network. Anyways, Janet just had enough and decided to go to the video store. While in the video store, Chuck and Janet discuss what's going on, and when Chuck actually made a movie. And let's just say it didn't go out very well. How well? Well, Tara actually wants to find a movie what she want to watch, but she claims that she want to watch this movie because, well, she didn't see it last time. And hey, look, more Easter eggs. That apple right there is Jerome. This Jerome right here. There's Jake right there. Yep, he also appears. And see that green pepper right there? Well, when Tara falls down by that thing, he was helped by his quote-unquote boyfriend, Craig. Craig, this pepper right here, is a type of pepper that have a crush on Tara. So, gee, I wonder why. Craig asked Tara, "Why didn't you show up at the prom?" Well, it's more like, I was at the prom, but you didn't show up. Tara explained it was a lie. Craig was there. In fact, he was so there, he spiked a punch. And this is actually one of the best cutaways from this show. Watch.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Hey, what are you doing? I was gonna drink some of that.
Do you know why they call it punch?
No.
The trip to the video store is a good follow-up to Chuck the Dummy. I really forgot the episode names. And as a good follow-up, this is a really good follow-up. I really do like the story, and it really does shows. I forgot to mention, this is Sally. She's a robot. Why am I mentioning this? Well, just by looking at her design, she was pretty much used as a basis for Janet. Okay, on to the last episode. This episode starts with Zach watching TV. And I'm going to say this right now. This is the only episode where Tara doesn't appear. The only episode. I don't know why, but she just doesn't appear. Well, Craig was watching some TV. He watched some other things, like he watched the election, or was the president's, which coincidentally we're still in a part of right now. And during this scene, he says one of the best puns out there. What is it?
How does it feel now that you've finally been impeached? Well, it's the pits.
Next, you watch I Love Juicy parody, and he claimed that someone has stabbed his friend on the head. And see, this is actually the same model from again, Revenge of the Eggplant. Next, we have after that, Zach watches about some theater or book recording that features this pair from Revenge of the Eggplant. Yeah, I know. They reuse a lot of stuff from that film. But hey, when you're making a TV show, you gotta reuse some stuff. Anyway, Chuck came down to tell Zach about the birds and the bees, but not in the way you think. You see, the birds was inside the house, and Chuck decided to scare off the bees. To scare off the birds with the bees. And he thought it might work, but turns out it backfired. And Chuck forgot to tell Janet what's going on, and this happened.
Oh my God! Where's all these bees coming from? Ah! Oh my bees! Oh Lord, they've come for me. They've come for me. Ah! Someone open a window.
As a final episode for the show, it was just alright. It's not bad. It's just alright. If I would get to rank them, Chuck the Dummy would be in first, and then a Trip to the Video Store, and then the other one, and then this one would be in last place. Though I did mention a bonus video. I will mention 2 more videos. Well, actually just one, because there is a 5th one, but the main family doesn't appear in that one, so it's not even worth mentioning. And what is its 5th video? And what is the bonus video that I mentioned? Well, this bonus video called Lost in a Desert, it starts with Chuck being lost in a desert driving his own plane. Yeah, apparently he works as a pilot, and apparently he got himself lost in there. Yeah, so he's trying to call for help, and then this is how this video ends.
Honey, never speak of that again or I'll kill you. I'll kill you with kisses. No, I'm just kidding. I'll really kill you.
And that was it. There's no new episodes from the show. The show only lasted for 2006 to 2007, so 1 year. After that, this show became forgotten and never became popular like it could have been. It just didn't. Looks like the people from Red Letter Media just move on to their days of making videos with food and started making reviews. Yeah. I really do think more people should actually look at this and say, hey, this is actually underrated. And I think more people should actually talk about this, because this is actually more like, if you want to make a show about food that want to look like food, this is it. This is how you're going to do it. And do I want more people to watch this? Of course. This show is really underrated and underappreciated. I really do think that this show could have worked better if Red Letter Media just sold the rights to some other companies. Which one? Well, I know that they're in a bad shape, but I can imagine that this show should be one of Adult Swim's lineups. If you really think about it, remember when Family Guy used to air on Adult Swim? Well, this show could actually feel like it had to be a part of that. Oh, I almost forgot to mention that one of the jokes at American Dad actually took jokes from them. I didn't make a video the Red Letter Media did. Look.
I'm gonna start making dinner. Would you make me a Hot Pocket? Ooh, I've been saving that one since Judge Wapner.
Stan, you asleep? Oh, I've been holding that in since Jeopardy.
Protostyle really is an underappreciated show, and I really do think it should make a comeback. And I think maybe this is the time where we should actually see Chuck, Janet, Tara, Zach, and all the other characters that we haven't been introduced to them. I think now's the time that we could see a comeback for them. If only if Red Letter Media is interested. And I think they should at least sell the rights to some from other adult networks to make this a full-on show. But apparently it didn't, because it got overshadowed by all the other videos that I mentioned before this, including The Annoying Orange. So, if you have the time, I recommend you watch this series. And what about Orange's Revenge of the Eggplant? Oh, I actually do recommend watching that at once, so you can understand the beginnings of Red Letter Media. And that's it. The reason why I want to make this video is to say, hey, there's a show out there that is pretty much underrated. So now, if you want to, now's the time to actually appreciate it. So again, please watch this show and have more people talk about it, because this is actually an underrated show. And underappreciated at the same time. And that's all I have time for today. The videos on this series is underrated, and I think you guys should check this watch. And I think it should be available on Adult Swim, despite what it is now. Did I mention it was available? It should be on Adult Swim. Like I said, it would fit right up with their lineup. So again, that's the end of the video. So if you like this video, if you're on YouTube, why not consider subscribing and leaving a like and sharing this video as well. This will really help me out in the long run. Then again, thank you for watching, and I bid you farewell.